Battle of the Challenges podcast with Vincent Cloud.
And Scotty Allwood, the man behind the Vicious Challenge on YouTube. Check it out.
Shameless. Absolutely shameless, but I love it.
No shame.
Vendettas, episode 10, Rumor Has It, or, as I would call it, character assassination. Is it not all about, like, exposing Bananas for years of shit? Or not even years, just like, this is what he does, you know?
There's a lot about this episode that I enjoy, but there's a lot about it that I was just ready to skip over. So I would be like, Bully has it, and I'm over it. Bullying. No, it's stupid as hell.
It's real.
But we'll get there. But it is real. I would like to mention real quick that at the beginning of the episode, you know how I said that the last podcast we did where they showed the amounts of money that people had? I did not see the top of it, which was John with $26,250, and then Natalie was right below him with $21,250, and then it was Tony, who was in third for $15,500. I just they showed us a little more this episode, so I like that.
Oh man, Bananas! He's got all the money and he's got all the attention, fucking thrust upon him. It's crazy. It like this episode. Yeah, we're gonna have to deal with a lot of like, oh, she said, he said, sort of stuff, and you know, a lot of caddy-like scenarios.
It's a little confusing as to what the fuck actually was going on, because there was a lot of talk about this happened, and then like we were given little details, but at the same time, it was all very confusing in the sense that like no one was owning up to anything.
That's true.
So it was, to me, it was just, I wish that we knew what the fuck actually happened.
I think they basically were let in on what does happen. Like, there's an interaction between Bananas and Kaylee, and she's like, "Can you not even own up to what happened?" And he's like, "Nothing happened. You fucking, you know, like."
Right. I guess we'll get to that in a moment, but let's start off the episode where the episode starts off with this recap, and it is Tony, Zach, and Kayla. They're in the Troika. And they need to decide one person who is going to elimination against Devin, who is already set to go into elimination no matter what. So Devin's starting to make his rounds, and he wants to face off John.
Yes.
Bananas, as you will. And he's going to Kaylee. He's like, "Hey, I want Bananas," and she's like, "I might be able to make that happen." And she's for it. She wants to say him because he did just say her name, which I think was great, that she's in this power position now when he literally he just put her into elimination against one of her friends. Oh, yeah. So I thought that was fun to kind of see happen. Immediately it was kind of backfiring on him to have said her name, because had he not, who knows, you know, if they would have put Cam in there, or, you know, Jimmy in there, and Marie came back, I don't feel like Bananas would have been going into elimination at all. So it's kind of interesting just to see that this is the effect it had on him saying that name, which he thought was a great idea at the time.
Oh, absolutely. And now Kayla, we need to remember, she's like one of the unsung heroes of this episode, because I mean, like, you know, if you're like, finally Bananas is out, like, let's just spoil this shit right now, you know, like, that is the narrative thrust of it all. Tony and Devin will be shot up the ranks in a lot of people's eyes, but people have to remember Kayla. Without her, wouldn't be possible. Okay, so Devin goes to Kayla, and then he goes to Tony, and he's like, give him to me.
He's like, "Do you want the banana? You want the banana man?" Is what Tony is saying. And I don't know, man. There's something about Tony that is just so likable. I feel like, even during all of his nonsense that he's been doing these past 5 seasons, there's always been a part of me that's been rooting for him. So it's just, like, even at this moment, someone is trying to get him to backstab someone he looks up to, and he's thinking about it, and I'm like, oh, Tony, like, you're just, like, you are the kind of guy that you could do no wrong in a lot of people's eyes, and this is probably why he gets away with cheating on his girlfriends. but like, if I was Bananas and if Tony voted me in, I'd go, "Oh, Tony."
But that's not Bananas' response. Not at all. He's like, "You are fucked
it is
until
not
I am done with these shows AKA, I am not done with these shows. I will forever be here. He utters these words, and it's just, I don't know. It's like I've always called him out for it, like especially when he stole Sarah's money. He's like, I don't know how many challenges I got left. That was like 5 seasons ago, straight. You know. So I don't know. Lots of little nuggets in this episode. Yeah, it's like kind of buried into the drama bullshit, but.
Well, what's strange about this episode is that I loved it so much, and there's so little that actually happens, because it is 50 minutes of build up to an elimination that lasts 5 minutes, and then I'm still like sitting here just eating it up. I'm like, oh my god, this is amazing.
This is foreplay, Scott. Some people require a lot of foreplay. Like, so much foreplay where you're like your jaw is numb. Like you cannot feel a goddamn thing. You're like, is it time now? You know what I mean? And then you get to fucking. So this is all foreplay, man. We're gonna put our hands on the bra, not in yet, on the bra right now in this first scene.
Second base as of right now. Devin says himself that like Zach is gonna vote Nelson no matter what. So really, it's just up to Tony, and Tony says he'll kick around the idea. So then it cuts to the actual troika in the room to where they're actually talking about everything, and Tony talks of how Leroy hasn't won a challenge, a daily challenge at all this
but
season.
But Bananas could win or something like that, because right away I believe Bananas is brought up.
Right, they're prone to win challenges, so he's, even for a viewer, we all know the end game at this point. Bananas gets picked. But as a viewer, when you're first watching this, they did such a great job of making it seem like that wasn't going to happen. There's been a lot of build-ups this entire season that we have talked about to where it leads to nothing. But this was such a great episode to try to make us think that nothing was going to happen, and then something fucking happened, and it was amazing. And so what sorry,
no, I was just going to say a stupid-ass joke. I was like, just how all this episode is foreplay to the elimination, this entire season has been like hot and cold flirtation with something possibly happening with foreplay. You know what I mean? So all this season, all the really, like the dead ends and shit, where I'm like, oh my god. Because you were saying like when Devin's talking to Tony, even then I'm like, it's not going to happen. I just didn't have that feeling because Tony lets me down a lot. He has. He really has. He's basically Leroy, except he's actually doing shit this episode, you know? Because him and Leroy are the same. Like, they probably both consider themselves proteges of Bananas.
This episode, I like Leroy a lot. Not so much these past few seasons, but ever since his Real World and, you know, his first challenges appearances, I always liked him, but now it's kind of overkill with how much he's just reliant on John, and I don't like that.
Yeah, right away at the Inquisition dinner, that's what Nelson is saying. He's like, listen, these two are obviously in an alliance together, so bust that shit up. And then Leroy is like, yeah, it is obvious that we're together, but who knows who else is with each other? I'm like, what?
I thought that was a smart move by Leroy. That was kind of clever of him to go, yeah, we're together, but there's so many secrets. There's so many secrets out there.
Yeah, it was a good move. It's just, had he come up with something more specific that he could use against Nelson, because that's what matters.
Oh, yeah.
It's between
definitely.
The three, you know?
Had he been more specific, I think that would have helped him a lot. Not that he was ever really in question of going in. Leroy was just kind of there.
Yeah, I actually thought he could go in, actually.
He might have been able to save John had he given something a little more of substance.
But what does John have to say? He says, think of the future. I'm not going anywhere, Tony, you know?
This is what I hate. This is what I fucking hate. That, I think I even mentioned it at the last podcast, is that he is making moves based on him being there all the time. He's, what is this, his 16th season and 14 seasons? And I hate that he's able to play that card.
Oh, yeah.
That he can go, don't fuck with me now because I'm going to be here for 3 more seasons and I'll make your life a living hell. And people have been playing that scared game. This is another reason why it makes you think Tony would never do anything like what he is about to do.
Even when Bananas, John got the nod just for nomination, Tony said he's been like a big brother to me for like 5 seasons or whatever. And then they show when Tony's like drunk and he's like out of it. He's like, oh, I gotta do some awful. And Bananas like, just calm down, dude. Just calm down. Well, let's show the video of when Bananas wakes up a drunk Tony and says, hey, man, go and do shit. Go talk to Camilla. Go do this and that. Like, it's happened.
Immediately, that's where my thought process went to, is that Bananas is the fucking reason Tony was sent home one night, because he went to Tony and woke him up and got him back into this fight with Camilla that he would have never been in had he just been asleep. And he was actually doing great that season. He was a front runner to me during that time. What was that, Rivals 3? Yeah. That he was going to make it to the end with her. And then Bananas threw his little banana wrench into the mix and fucked it all up. And it's, I don't know, maybe it's just because we're not there, that Tony, like, we're not Tony, and in Tony's eyes, Bananas can do no wrong, but...
Yeah, do you think Bananas could, like, okay, you're on the challenge, Scott, and Bananas, he takes you under his arm, he's like, dude, you got a lot of potential, you're basically Ty from Cutthroat. Oh my god, remember the first time we ever podcasted each other? Real fucking cutaway. I said, no, you said you had a chance to audition for... Real World
for the Real
DC,
World.
And you didn't, and instead they hired Ty, and then Ty went on Cutthroat. Bananas took him under his wing and said, "Ty, you have potential." He was a future Leroy. He was a future Tony. You could have been a future Scott.
I don't think I was ever that close to actually getting on the Real World.
Do you think you could be wooed by him? Do you get suckered in sometimes by shit?
I am very kind of like prone to people talking me up, which is weird because I'm like a manager of a place to like, I'm the one in charge, but I still get very heated if people come to me with a certain stance. So if people come at me and like, oh my God, so-and-so's doing this, I'm like, what the fuck? I'm pissed. And then I go talk to that person and I'm like, I guess things aren't as crazy as they seem, but now I'm level-headed thinking about it. So I could very much see myself getting underneath the banana spell.
Yeah.
But I think I'm logical enough to get away from it a little quicker than Tony did after 5 seasons.
That's 5 goddamn seasons. Next, is that all for the Inquisition? That's all I wrote down.
Let's see here. This is a note I put that Tony said is that this is why it's tough. Whoever we send is coming back. So he's looking at it as these 3 people here in front of him, like everyone's coming back no matter who we put in. No one is believing that Devin will win because Devin hasn't put himself to that level of a challenger. No one thinks he's coming back. And maybe that's why Tony even ultimately put him in. It's so weird because even when you get to it, Tony looks back at Devin and gives him a wink, like, "Hey, you're going in. I got you, man." Like this was like it was their plan from the get-go or something. But at the same time, he's saying all this shit to make me think that he doesn't think Devin will win. It's so bananas.
Oh, that was wonderful, Scott. Oh my gosh. Real quick, you said it's almost as if Tony and Devin have an alliance. It was either you or countless other co-hosts once told me
I mentioned it so many times.
The reunion of like Dirty 30 or something like that
last season.
Tony and Devin made an alliance.
They at the end, Devin kept doing it was Devin and Tony talking, and Tony kept going like, "Yeah, we got a next season, flip it around," and that's what was driving me crazy this entire season because Tony is sitting here saying like, "Oh, Bananas is Michael Jordan, and I'm Scottie Pippen," saying all this shit. I'm like, dude, you were just saying that you wanted to flip the game on him at the after party of the reunion, and now like this episode kind of made up for it. And I don't know where his head is. Tony is like, what the hell is going on right here? Because you're such good friends with Bananas, but you're making such a great move, and also at the same time, there's clearly a side bet with you and Devin. I don't know, like, this guy is a magician.
Another thing that I forgot about the Inquisition, which is actually totally worthy of note, is when Leroy is saying, like, listen, you put me in something against Devin, and it's a rap. And then Nelson is like, but I don't think it's a rap if it's between Bananas and Devin. And
Yes.
I feel like that was
Yes.
just, it just helped just a little bit, just nudged it in the right direction, that thing. Like, Nelson, again, is like an unsung hero this season.
Which is weird because, man, he reminds me of myself in my early 20s. Like, I'm so prone to just feelings and emotions back then. And so anytime I see Nelson in this game, I'm like, oh my God, I would totally be doing the same. But now I'm sitting here as a 30-year-old going, come on, Nelson, like, get your shit together. This is silly. Because even just with this stupid bullshit that's about to come up with Kaylee, I didn't even take notes on when we
Oh,
get
really?
there because I fucking hated it that much. I put in my notes the dumbest shit ever bullying. We got to mention first the Devon strategy.
Yes.
Because this came up before the bullying, scene. And Devon has a lot of thought put into this that I thought was really interesting. Even just as, like, if I was Devon's friend, I would start going, like, the fuck is he keeping from me? Because when is he going to use it against me or whatever's around us?
Yeah, because he said, I've known this for a while. I've sat on it.
Yeah.
I've fucking let it.
We even commented on it episodes ago about how Kaylee and Bananas was sitting at the bar, and I'm assuming this is the night because this is what they kind of like replayed for us as viewers. They were like, "Oh yeah, these guys were doing stuff on the third day," and then they showed us that clip of them at the bar and flirting.
Yeah, and they'll show that. But what Devin has to say is like, I need it's the psychological warfare, which I said that's what Wes can use against Bananas each time. Bananas hates Devin, but Devin goes deeper beyond that than just saying like, "Hey, Bananas, fuck you," whatever. But instead, he's like, I gotta get him separated from the women in his life, Natalie, Kaylee. So that's when he's like, "Hey, Nelson, bro, we're friends, but I'm just now telling you this." No, actually, no. He said that he's heard rumors. Devin presents it to Nelson not as if he's been like wrestling with this guilt of knowing something bad. He presents it as like, "Hey, I've been hearing this rumor lately, right?" And that totally explains Kaylee's fuck up in the voting, So it's just beautiful, just beautifully put.
Devin said something that I really enjoyed. He's like, a good assassin never shows when they're going to come for you. And it just kind of be said or placed in an episode at the more perfect of a time than now, because he is the kind of person that's planning, or like he even said himself, he was waiting to give this information, which I feel bad for Nelson because he's sitting over there like, Kaylee did what?
He is hurt.
It's kind of funny knowing, yeah, he was actually genuinely hurt about this, but it's also kind of funny knowing that Nelson went into the house having a girlfriend. So he's talking about all this, he's playing the game with his heart, and he's doing all this, and to get told such a thing is so heartbreaking to him. He literally cheated on his girlfriend in this house.
Oh, is that some of your Twitter research shenanigans you like to bring to this?
Yeah, it is. I'm bringing all the whole world with me. All right, we're not just looking at episodes here, Vince. We're looking at people's character. And Nelson, I just think it's super funny that he was so heartbroken, but also at the same time literally cheated on his girlfriend. So if she had a confessional, she would probably be going, well, it could be worse, Nelson. You could have been cheated on.
Yeah, on national television, man.
So for him to cheat on a girl and then be upset that that girl was hooking up with someone else, it's just super funny to me. And I did not ever do that in my 20s, Vince. I know that I said I related to Nelson earlier.
Oh, right.
Emotionally, but I never did cheat on a girlfriend until my late 20s. So
you really gotta not until your late 20s. I like that. Yeah, it's a good time to like, that's when you feel around, man. Your late 20s are like,
yeah,
give me some of that. You know what I mean?
That's when you know your worth. You're like, oh, wait a second, I could have been cheating on girls this entire time. That's awful. Don't listen to Vince and his ideas. And let's pretend that I didn't cheat on anybody. All right, moving along.
Nelson proceeds to go, and he tells, because at first, he's looking directly for Kaylee, but it's just Nicole and Brittany there. And then he's like, "Hey, this is what I heard," you know, and then I think he tells Natalie in front of Bananas, or was this like a chopped up scene?
This was a very interesting kind of edit, just because they're all over the place in terms of Nelson being somewhere or not being at another place. There's a moment where Nelson is kind of like, I don't know, he's like, what is he doing to his shirt? He's steam
Oh yeah, what
cleaning
was he
his
doing?
shirt,
Yeah,
and he's
Steven.
talking
Yeah,
to
yeah.
Nicole, and then Kaylee literally comes around the corner, is like, "Hey, you're looking for me?" And he's like, "No." Like, what?
Yeah.
You literally are, though. You were looking for, and you have stuff to say. And then all of a sudden, he's in this huge room with fucking everybody in there, Bananas
Everybody.
included. I think I've mentioned this before in terms of like, I might not care about a cast member, but if they like a cast member that I like on the show, then I start to like them more.
All right.
And I know that you've shit on Nicole a lot, but the moment she started liking Nelson a lot in this episode, I'm like, oh my god, I love Nicole. She's over here like when she's talking to Nelson, you can tell that there is friendship right there, and I'm now a Nicole fan because I love
Okay.
Nelson that much.
Uh,
Are you a Nelson fan, Vince? Because if you are, you'll like Nicole now, which I know that you hate her, so.
no, 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 no. Make no mistake about it. I don't hate Nicole. I don't hate Nicole. I just can't.
You despise her. Gotcha. Okay.
Like, oh, this is a perfect analogy. Oh my god, thank God for the heavens for this analogy. She is a cat. I'm allergic to cats. I'm not actually allergic to cats, but like it's the same thing. Like you ask someone who's allergic to cats, like you must fucking hate cats, you son of a bitch. And they're like, no, I love cats. I just can't be
allergic,
around
yeah.
them. And that's Nicole for me.
You're allergic to lesbians. Okay, so the ring is. No, we're actually skipping over
whoa,
the
yeah, you've
dumbest shit
skipped
ever.
over leaps and oh my god.
Yeah, because in my notes I put the dumbest shit ever, bullying, and it was so frustrating to me to watch this because I loved everything around this, but the stuff dealing with Kaylee and the girls throwing her shit over the ledge was just super silly. Not even just that it happened, but everything around it. They made sure to do confessionals and interviews asking people about the bullying. There has been so much worse that has happened in the show that has been glazed over.
Oh,
Just
I agree.
like,
Thank you very much.
yeah, we'll never even think about that. We're not going to draw attention to it. But then for them to like put themselves on such a high ground of, oh, how dare you, just drove me crazy.
Well, the very beginning of this episode is Bananas telling Devin, I wish I could place my hand on your throat and strangle you.
Yeah, why isn't TJ mentioning that when they're all standing there? Hey, Bananas, you said you wanted to physically harm somebody? Oh, no, we better mention throwing some clothes over a story of a house. Yeah.
I do have some shit written up. Bananas denies. I guess we could have skipped that. Nelson. Oh, but Nelson says like, "Oh, you're a joke, Bananas. A funny one, but it's not
Dude,
funny
I
anymore."
like
Or
that.
something like that. I was like,
like
"Oh
that.
my god!" He
Because then
walks
Nelson
away.
stood up and walked away from that. I was just like, yeah, you're the man.
Nelson might not be the deciding vote. He might not be in elimination round, but Nelson is he's just shining brightly. Better, like, he was disappointing us at the beginning of this season,
Oh, yeah.
you know?
We talked a lot about how he wasn't and he even mentioned how he wasn't performing up to par with what he typically does. And I still say he was robbed on Invasion, but
Oh, totally. Jesus. Even though I love CT, I was just like, come on, man. It had to have been Nelson, you know? Okay, so next oh, shit. When this is going down, when they're arguing, I think Nelson says, like, I wish it was, I hope it was worth it or something. I don't know what he says, but Kaylee is like, he was better than you. I'm like, whoa, this is turning gross.
Kyle's like, don't say that. That makes you seem guilty. And she's like, I don't fucking care. What's there to care now? In her mind, she's already mentally checked out. Because,
Yeah.
I mean, this is another thing where we don't really know what happened between the two of them, between Kaylee and Bananas, but we have an idea. And for her to say something like that, though, makes you think a little more about the situation. And to me, I mean, we saw a lot of Nelson and her hanging out to where they're in bed together. So something could have happened with Bananas before she really got to know Nelson, like she kind of stated, to where she really did like Nelson, and that kind of hurts your heart a little bit, right? Because Nelson is overreacting to this rumor, little rumor that's out there, and Kaylee is just having to play defense, to whereas Nelson is over it immediately and he's being emotional. So we could argue the fact that he was going a bit overboard and Kaylee was, in the right, and she really did like Nelson, but after seeing him react like that, she went, nope.
Okay, well, Kaylee, she's like, better than you, and Kyle and Kara are like, what the fuck? And she's like, okay, fine, it happened. In fact, they're gonna do a dramatic reenactment
Yeah,
of it. Remember that?
Reenactment, yeah.
So I think the thing that happened between Bananas and Kaylee happened the way she said it, but I don't think that was the only moment, because like she fucking takes off after Bananas at the end of the episode. She's like, "Oh no, we're gonna go hook up on the plane now. Bye."
Right. That is
Bye,
a good
Z's.
point. Is that I feel like we did get. I mean, especially with the reenactment, I don't think she was lying there. She's like, "Hey, Kyle, this is what happened. He came in on his knees, or she came in on her knees."
That's dirty. Yeah.
But then they kissed, and I feel like there was a little more than what she was leading on to. But for her to quit the game entirely when she did,
Hold on. Okay.
I mean,
I'm curious on whether you want to bypass the bullying because A, you're like fucking bullying. Like, who gives a shit? Like, I was bullied. Or B, who gives a shit? I bullied people. You know what I mean? Like, this is not natural. I'm curious on where you land.
The part of it that I didn't care for is just the fact that MTV hit so hard with it because of the whole having TJ come at Kayla about the bullying. And like I mentioned earlier, where there's just been so much worse shit that has happened in the challenge that's never been brought to fruition, or anything has ever even been said about it. What was weird to me was that throughout all of this, John was pretty close with Natalie this entire season at this point, and he wouldn't go talk to her about the situation. I was like, why not? If nothing happened, or if you're into
Because
Natalie,
something did
what?
happen, Scott. Because something did happen.
It just, he's such a manipulator / liar anyway. What is it to him to have to go talk to Natalie and do a little bit more of that? I mean, what the fuck else do they have to do in that house, Vince? They have nothing. All they have to do is talk to each other. Hell, they're upstairs? No, I gotta watch Pete and Pete. It's only airing at this special time. No.
Pete and Pete?
Yeah, let's pretend it was on like a special Nickelodeon airing, and that's why he didn't go talk to her, is because you don't get to watch it otherwise.
I'm sensing a dip because we're talking about Pete.
I could have literally said any show that was just currently airing, but no, I said Pete.
But why two redheads? All right, well, let's see here. Let's get to the bar, okay? This is where Kyle, who is everyone's an unsung hero here. Kyle goes to Tony and says, "Hey, man, we're never gonna win if he's in a final with us."
Yeah, and as much as I haven't really cared much for Kyle at all, I did like Kyle this episode because I feel like that little talk he had with Tony really opened his eyes up. Tony went, I think he makes a good point. And I think it was maybe, I mean, this entire episode, you see Tony in rooms talking to Bananas, talking to anybody, and he's not really made a decision. But after this, suddenly his mind's made up.
It's the accent.
It's got to be it. It can make our lives easier, Vince. We just got to get the accent.
It's tapping into his Anglo-Saxon self. He's like, "Oh, that sounds very white to me," and shit like, I don't know, okay, whatever. This is the scene where Bananas won't even admit to Kaylee that this happened. And she's like, "You're being such a cock." He's like, "Why am I a cock?"
Oh my god, yeah.
Clearly things happened. Okay, and then real quick, I know I want to get through this shit too. Brittany, Kayla, Jemmy, Natalie are all anti-Kaylee. Kaylee tries to come up to them.
Yeah.
They say, you probably shouldn't sit next to us. And this is the thing, Kayla, even though she voted Bananas in, she could come off as such a goddamn bitch. Oh, she was awful to Kaylee.
Yeah, man, it was super strange just because we didn't get any build up to this, to their hatred towards Kaylee. So we didn't see a lot of what was going on between her and those specific girls. All of a sudden, we just have, oh, hey, we need to, talk about how Kaylee got her shit thrown over the edge. So we got to show these girls doing it. But they could have done a better job, coming to this episode with a little more steam of maybe just a conversation or two that they had with Kaylee that made them not like her as much as they do. Because people don't just fucking throw your shit off of a top floor for nothing.
I have to reach back into my own life.
I'm sorry, Vince, you're saying that you have thrown everybody's clothes off of a top floor for no reason at all? Oh, okay.
Yes, but that's...
Have you
I
really?
wanted to focus on the fact that I work with a lot of women. And I have seen firsthand when one random woman who is cool with everyone fucks up once. Holy shit, the whole group turns. It's like in the wilderness, you see all the gazelles, and one gazelle hurts the leg, and they're like, oh my god, the cheetah is gonna fucking eat that gazelle. And then, out of nowhere, the gazelles turn on that weak gazelle and kills them. And you're like, holy shit. Like, it's fierce. Women can turn, man.
We need to do a separate podcast of your interactions with women that you work with, because I am fully intrigued on what the fuck happened or has happened with you and your coworkers.
Yeah. I actually have another video series called Battle of the Challenges Porn Stars. I work with a lot of women. Yeah. There you go. All right. Well, throw mattress, luggage. The luggage was over the top, though.
Yeah, so they threw all of her shit. And it was pretty fun to watch, actually. Because Kaylee comes out and she's like, oh my god, my stuff. And she's ready to fight bitches. She's from the UK. They don't just let shit be thrown and not dealt with. She's ready to run upstairs. Because I think, actually, this was another thing that, I wanted to skip this entire segment because I thought it was the dumbest shit ever. But Cam really impressed me during this moment, because I feel like that's how I would have been in this situation. Like, why are you doing this? Go talk to that person one-on-one if you have a problem with them. Don't throw their mattress and clothes over the ledge. So she's young, like, you don't learn this shit until after you've cheated on several girls in your late 20s. So you live and learn. And Cam is young. She's in her early 20s at this point, and she already knows this shit. So you got to give props to where props are due, Vince.
But this is the craziest thing, because Kaylee turns on Nelson when Nelson's trying to help pick up her shit.
Yeah.
That is a clear indicator of guilt.
I feel like Nelson was kind of calming down at that point and was like, why did I start all this? Let me just help her and, like, get her shit together. And then Kaylee, why you do that to our boy? That's our boy. He's being a good boy. And you're going to be a bitch.
No, I just think it's an indicator of guilt. As a person who has been cheated on and who's cheated on
math tests
people
and stuff, yeah.
I've been on both sides.
No, yeah.
And I've been on the fence where I'm like, oh, I really want to, but I'm not going to. When people get mad at you like that, it's guilt, dude. It's fucking guilt. I really think Kaylee... consider this real quick. The bathroom reenactment, Devin did not see that. He saw another scene. Yeah.
Devin was mentioning something from that night we all saw a few episodes back when they were at the bar together. He didn't see anything in the house at all. From his words, he made it seem more so it was just like an out kind of thing, and I don't think Devin really knew how much more truth there was to it than what he was saying. I feel like he saw something and went, "Oh, I'm going to use this to my advantage." But then really there was so much more to it than he could have ever fathomed.
Kaylee goes to a hotel for the night because everyone's like throwing out. This is when everyone's throwing out the word bullying. Jemmy, however, she's like, that ain't bullying because that's when a group is attacking someone innocent, y'all. She is not
Sorry,
innocent.
can you go ahead and say that again? Because I laughed immediately as you were trying to say the quote because the voice voice got to me. But I do want to hear it again. Please. What was said?
Bullying.
No, do the voice. Your Jimmy voice.
Bullying is when a group of people attack an innocent person. She's not innocent, okay? When they go to commercial, it says, TJ's like, bullying is never okay. What is the website? Love is Loud or something like that?
Right after it happens, yeah. It was so annoying to see this. Here's an episode we're focusing on bullying and showing you this and that, even though we could have numerous times in the past, but never did. But Kaylee, you're a bad person. Also, here is a website to go to learn about bullying or how to bully people better. I don't fucking know. I didn't go to the website.
All right. I have a real quick scene of Natalie and Nelson talking to each other about their mutual betrayals.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's it. I haven't cared much for Natalie this season, but I mean, like I said earlier in this podcast, if anyone shows anyone that I love a little bit of feeling, I love them. So Nelson, I love you. He's my boy. Natalie, I like you a little more now since you're fucking with my boy.
Not
Don't-
fucking. She said,
don't
no
fuck him
showmance,
over.
Nelson.
That's my
Remember that?
boy. I said, do not fuck Nelson over. He is my boy.
Oh, over.
I like you now, Natalie.
And she's like,
so-
over what? A barrel?
No.
Oh, but you know what? There was a nice moment where, a true moment, where Natalie's like, I thought he was my friend. Just talking about bananas. Thought he was
Yeah,
my friend.
actually, Banana said something to the extent of they barely even made out. So, thanks MTV for making us think that something more was going on. And where's the footage of them making out? Because we needs to see it to get clarification on how close they were. And maybe that's why he didn't go talk. Maybe that's why he didn't go talk to her, is because, hey, I only got to make out with the chick. I don't give a shit. If she would have sucked this dick, maybe I'd go talk to her, but I don't know.
Well, that opens up a whole new thing. Not making out, correct me if I'm wrong, but you do not make out with a prostitute. You just fuck.
Uh-oh.
Natalie has her terms.
We're seeing your true colors. She has her terms.
Leave it on the dresser before you leave, you piece of shit. But I was like, Jesus Christ, you change after fuck. Getting fucked. All right.
Yeah.
Oh, Kara. She says to Bananas, have you spoken to Natalie? In front of everybody. And this is where Bananas like, about what? His short temper is an indicator of guilt, dude.
Mm-hmm.
All right, now let's get on to the good shit. The elimination. Please explain this for me so I don't have to keep talking.
Well, are you... Okay, so we're at the ring. We got the three people down there, the Troika. Finally, some actual competition is about to happen. We have Zach, Kayla, and Tony. They all have to make the decision on who is going to be placed into elimination along with Devin. So Zach says Nelson. He's playing it straightforward. This is best for my game. We're just going to say Nelson. Kayla gives the great excuse of, oh, Banana said my name literally just the last elimination, and now I'm in power. I want you to go in. And then we get to Tony. And this is what the whole episode has been building to. And if you would be watching any other episode this season, nothing would have happened at this point. Tony would have just said Nelson too. But this is where we get the fucking kicker, man. And, I don't want to give too much credit to the move or idea or whatever. But after a season of lackluster moves, to finally get something to happen is amazing. Tony says, "I'm sorry, Nelson, but you're gonna have to wait a little longer to go into elimination, buddy. Bananas, my vote is for you." And Zach
Oh,
is
dude,
like, "This is iconic."
yeah, you kind of butchered that line, like just the way he was like, but because they're like, who are you sending in? And
Oh yeah, there was a
Tony's
little
like,
bit before
Bananas. And you're just like, right when he says the name, you're like, oh, he's going in, and he's like, you've been a friend of mine for years, and stuff like that. Tony delivered this line just perfectly. Star-making performance.
Just reality TV gold at this point.
Yes.
And the way he said this, it was like he was reading from a script. But it wasn't. It was like he said bananas, then went to Nelson, then kind of like did this back and forth to finally to where he said that line that I had previously said that was just such a perfect way to deliver voting bananas in. Because even them, when they're listening to this, Nelson's face, jaw drops. Banana still doesn't believe it. Because he's like, wait a second, he said a lot of our names just between now and 2 seconds ago, and am I going in? But Zach said, Tony tonight went from hero to a legend. And I've always liked Tony for whatever reason, but I was super proud of him for making this decision, because still you have to remember this was a bold move to make, to throw bananas in against someone who is Devin, who hasn't particularly scared the rest of the challengers in terms of competition. So it was still like a risky move, because chances were John was coming back, not Devin, when you really think about it.
Yeah. And Bananas going into this, he's like, all right, this is going to happen, but keep in mind, I always get my revenge, basically. Ask Corey, ask Victor, and ask a poor woman named Sarah.
Yeah.
I was like,
that shit
unnecessary.
drives me crazy.
But
so stupid. That makes me mad. That makes me mad that he's invited back every season, because he can say and do shit like that. And he can trick people into following him because he will always be there. And I don't like that. People shouldn't have that power.
That's the thing. The challenge finds itself in a really bizarre spot right now, because their whole product is all about nasty people doing nasty shit to each other, saying awful shit, all for money. And then now the PC era is kind of sinking in, or it's kind of spilling into their world. They're like, holy shit, we have to offer someone who did some bullshit. They can't throw bananas out for bullshit. They got to throw someone else under the bus for that. They're like, oh, that is wrong, even though Bananas is doing the same shit for years, So it's like the UFC getting drug tested for steroids. It's like, that's good, but holy shit, you built an empire on people on steroids. So
Right. So the elimination. So yeah, they choose Bananas to go in against Devin, and now it's the elimination not so bright. Each player, they start behind a podium, which has a little button on it, and they press this button, they can see a wall that is in front of them. It has a lot of lights on there. Most of them are not turned on. So when they press this light, there are certain ones that are turned on, and they have to remember which ones are not turned on. So they are to run to the wall, flip the switch, and then run back to their little podium to turn on the lights again to see which ones still need to be lit up. And that's essentially the whole elimination in a nutshell, is that it's a lot of running back and forth, hitting the light switch and seeing how many you still have to do. And it was a super long elimination for something that, I mean, we saw harder eliminations take less time to be shown. And
it's also the quietest elimination ever.
Ah, yes. I did like how that was mentioned, because I was just talking in the last podcast about how everything would be so much different if people weren't sitting there yelling and kind of giving clues or whatever.
In the middle of all this, Kara is rooting for Bananas. Gross.
Yeah. I mean, we've seen it coming. They've been, friends this entire season. Someone keeps commenting on your podcast, hey, Bananas and Kara are friends now. So please do us a favor. Go ahead and let us know that they are friends now in the comment section. Whoever they want to let us know that again. We get that, but at the same time, you don't expect it. Because, I mean, even before Vendettas aired, they had the picture up there in Times Square of Bananas and Cara Maria looking at each other and kind of like, hey, this is a versus kind of thing. So regardless of how friendly they seemed, I still got a sense that there was going to be some kind of turmoil at the end of the road, which never really happened. Cara is definitely friends with Bananas now, and for the long haul, I guess, at this point. Bastards.
All I have written down is that Devin wins. I mean, you can't really build this
Right.
up.
I mean, like I said, it was a long elimination for what it was. They had a commercial break in between, these guys doing their thing. There was a lot of talk about, oh man, this and that, and a lot of it was just, to my feeling, that they were trying to give Bananas more of a, look. Hey, yeah, we're trying to stretch out his stay as long as we can. It's episode 10. He's gone. But good riddance.
Devin has some great post-fight interview shit about how I've never had a child, or my first child. I haven't had a
Yes.
wedding.
I love
But there's
this.
every man has.
Sorry,
the best.
future wife. Sorry, future kid.
Yeah.
This tops everything. Let's go.
So
This episode should have been called "Let's Go," because
said that so many
that's
times. We're like, yeah,
fucking
that's
Devin's
his thing.
catchphrase. Cam was like, "This is how you take your vendetta out of the game," and I went, Cam.
Oh, it was great, and her. I mean, not to talk down or, objectify, but her titties were bouncing around. She's like, go, go, go. I'm like, oh my god, because I've been a fan of Cam anyways, and she just gets hotter and cooler and funnier to me, and it's just so great. It's so great. Meanwhile, Carnry is on the downslope.
So I guess Devin wins, and then they're like, "Yay, Devin! Woo! Oh, what's that, Kaylee? What's that? Oh, you have something to say, Kaylee? Okay, let us know. I'm going to leave." And in annoying fashion, TJ goes, "All right, see you, dude. Hey, thanks. I hope we see you in the future." Like, no, fuck that. You were literally just telling Marie, "I can't believe you gave up like that," even though she almost beat Kayla's ass in that elimination. I'm glad she didn't, because Kayla pulled this amazing move this episode to get Bananas out of the fucking game. But it's still, I'm not going to forget that, TJ. You treat everybody the same, all right? Kaylee wants to quit, call her on that shit. I don't give a shit if it's bullying or not. I would have been like, oh, I would have started bullying her right then. Like, oh, you want to quit? Oh, little baby wants to quit.
TJ's like, Scott, what the fuck?
Fuck that, man. She got off light. She should have not have been able to quit that easily. She's like, I just can't take this place. Especially with what you read and hear about Kaylee on her other shows that she was on, which I never saw, but heard some dumb shit. She only said cunt 2 times this season to Johnny, but she said it a lot on these other shows she was doing, I guess. And then she turns out to be the cunt, Quentin. Sorry, go ahead.
I know exactly why TJ was so soft on Kaylee. Because Bananas was hard on Kaylee. And TJ and Bananas are friends. I think it's pretty obvious.
Yeah.
They are friends outside the show. You know that, right?
Yeah, it does seem that way.
And he's his best friend is married to Sarah Rice.
TJ's is?
Yeah, he's entangled in this fucking production.
Did not know that.
Crazy, man. But couple things I wanted to say. Tony says, I consider Bananas probably considers me his protege, so he should be proud that I made this move. Zach takes a second to be like, I am now the strongest guy in the house.
Yeah. I was just saying Tony and Zach have been killing it this entire season, and a lot of that does deal with the format and how they're able to kind of keep themselves in the troika just because of the power that the troika gives you. But you can go on with whatever you're saying.
Bananas, his elimination record is 8-10. 8 wins, 10 losses. Like after Devin.
I mean, throw him into any elimination that you can. He has not won an elimination in 5 seasons. What are you guys afraid of? He lost to Devin, of all people, who... I love Devin to death, especially after this episode, but he was not a threat in terms of competition. And he just eliminated the, top competitor, quotes around that. But he's not the top competitor. He fucking loses any chance he gets in elimination. Throw him in. That's it. The only time he's lost in, the past 6 seasons was against Jordan in a competition that dealt with both hands.
Do we mention the grenades? I feel like they're so pointless. I would get rid of the grenades so bad.
I'm so mad about this grenade shit because there are 3 options, one of them being team up. If you don't choose team up, you done fucked up. Team up is almost like a for sure win. If you don't choose team up, if Devin doesn't choose team up this next episode, he's going to fucking lose.
What were the other options? Weighed down?
Yeah, you add weight to someone of your choice or tie up their ankles for the next challenge. Like, these are just not beneficial when you're having team challenges every single challenge, regardless of them being mixed up or whatever. Like, you have to choose team up, because if you're not in control of the teams, the troika is, and you're gonna get fucked up.
Plus, these grenades hold no weight out of context. You have to see the mission that they're gonna do, right, and then present the grenades, because then by themselves you're like, okay. And to end an episode on the grenades, even though he doesn't actually get to, like, it'd be better if they gave him the grenade, like an Oscar, like, oh my god, thanks, and shit like that. Oh my god, climate change is real.
That's a great point.
That,
we haven't seen them actually hold the grenade or anything like that. It's just kind of like a prop in the show in the background. I want to see them carry that shit around and be like, hey, I'd be putting it in their face, like, yeah, I got the grenade, motherfucker. You want this grenade to be in your face tomorrow? Because it's gonna be, unless you suck. These nuts.
That's the end of the episode, Scott.
Yeah. Let's end it there after I say, suck these nuts. Thanks, Vince.
Oh my god, the more I think about it, that is the perfect time. Let's get out of here. Like, subscribe, comment. This was Battle of the Challenges podcast with Vince and Cloud.
And Scott Allwood. Thanks for listening.